Shoot. Sort of a little too quick on that. All right. So Tucker's getting censored by Rupert Murdoch on his J6 coverage. Monday night, I believe it was, he ran a huge January 6th story that blew the doors open on the J6 thing being a federal op and operation and gigantic honeypot and revamp of the war on terror against the domestic population, specifically against starting with mostly white males, creating them as the new kind of Islamic extremists. What did they used to call them? Infidels? Or was that the U.S.? They'd say kill it. Yeah, I guess the infidels would be the. So, so Tucker runs this, and then the next night, Alex Jones did a. There's censored. So they did this late night broadcast a couple nights ago, thinking that Tucker was going to do a second night of basically another portion of what he did on Monday night, which was reveal that there were feds involved in, basically creating the entire January 6th event, and that there was radio silence for the, that they got the one of the police lieutenants, the Capitol Police, head of the Capitol Police that day, and he, goes through on the ground as far as the head, and he goes through how he, got nothing as far as direction for the crowd control or anything on January 6th. It was radio silence when he was radio in to get direction and what to do. And, that Q shaman, the guy with the hat and the horns, who everyone knows is, the bad guy, I guess, was, just a Navy vet who was basically led around by the Capitol Police, wasn't told he was doing anything wrong, wasn't arrested there during any of that supposed trespassing, but then after the fact, he's looking at like 6 years in, roach-infested gulag, American gulag. And so it was a giant honeypot, and he was supposed to continue to reveal that, but then this night that they did this late night broadcast, Tucker's show only did January 6th coverage for like the first big section of the show, so the first 20 minutes. And then it, went to some other kind of filler stuff, and it's pretty clear what was going on. Alex kind of said it at the time, and then it looks like Steve Bannon and the War Room had Darren Beattie on, and it looks like they have some information.
Oligarchs on Wall Street, the Mitch McConnell donor, who most of the oligarchs, but these collaboration of senators, plus the Murdoch apparatus with the Murdochs. And I'm not picking on any individual people at Fox, because Murdoch runs this with an iron fist. Darren Beattie.
Look, I I think it's important to understand the significance of honest signals in politics. That means when it's down to the wire, when it really matters, who has whose back. And you brought it up. 2016, people forget so easily. 2016, Fox, along with the entire institutional apparatus of the GOP, was vigorously opposed to Trump and did everything it could to stop him. It was only after, against all odds, against the coordinated opposition of every powerful institution in the country, if not the world, that Trump won, that all of these people who did everything they could to funnel.
Yeah, so obviously Fox News is, not it, and that's been known. Darren Beatty still seems to, I don't know. He's still like rah Trump, and I don't know. I like Darren Beatty, he's super white, but he's still rah Trump and all this. I don't know. It's hard to know who to trust these days because obviously Trump is a sellout, a salesman. He just sells his vaccines, collects hundreds of millions in campaign donations, and then doesn't do anything about stopping any steals or any of that sort of thing. He just collects it, and that goes into the pocket, and then there's the next fundraiser or whatever it is to his campaign. And this time around, he's saying he's gonna stop the swamp or whatever, and he didn't do shit about it before, except for lockdowns and helping big pharma take over the country, basically. So we're run by a bunch of little worm, doctors. Some, what's his name? Some guy Stern. What's his name? Fucking. Bunch of Joseph Mengeles. That's who runs this country now at this point. So, anyways, Darren Beatty, who I like, but you never. I don't know. I mean, Steve Bannon and Darren Beatty, I'm sure, are working for. At the end of the day, you can't rely on any of these people. Nobody's coming to save you. Darren's. To be honest with you, he doesn't give a fuck about you. Just like Steve doesn't. It's all about getting their own hands on the state power. Turn it back for good or whatever that means. And a lot of what Trump is pushing for now with his freedom cities and his 2024 run is just basically World Economic Forum stuff rebranded as freedom cities and BS. Just like everything that they need to be Patriot Act, which was worst surveillance bullshit ever passed, and the war on terror, all this stuff, war on drugs. This stuff just gets the lobotomized side of the right wing, in rah mode, and they're a powerful idiot group once they start going. Hate to be sitting negative on them, but they were, to say they were and still are a disappointment from 2016 onward is pretty big understatement. A lot of people rode with these losers until until losing friends, family, relationships, bonds, and these guys they won't fucking lift a goddamn Krispy Kreme to help your ass. I mean, that's all these guys lift is fucking Krispy Kremes. Look at them. Bunch of fucking same fats as the left. I'm getting way off topic here. This was supposed to be nice to these guys. I mean, I think what Tucker was running was great, but obviously, just like everything else, nothing happens. Tucker doesn't end up running the good stuff. He doesn't show the real stuff with the federal agents essentially running the whole J6 that got censored by Rupert Murdoch. And then, the War Room guys, Darren Beatty, are going to talk about how Fox is always against them. And this is just what happens. And we're going to, I don't know. They'll probably say, we're going to get them. We're winning this. Everyone's waking up.
People
We're
like
winning
the
this.
Murdochs, the whole institutional apparatus.
By losing,
Fox,
we're winning.
Of course, they're opposed to Trump. They've always been opposed to Trump. It's just now,
It's not even
in
about
their
Trump
estimation,
at this point. It's
Darren, I
about
want to ask you,
freedom,
to
guys.
Trump.
Fuck
They've
Trump.
always been opposed to
He can
Trump.
suck
It's
a
just
dick.
now and
He's
Fox.
a fucking loser.
And that's another big difference
deserter.
is Trump benefited
A honey
tremendously,
trap
as you
pusher.
know, from earned
Mail-in
media
ballot
in
pusher.
2016. There's a coordinated
Sales,
consensus across the
death
board.
shot pusher.
They will not make that mistake again. The media will do everything it can to black out Trump,
They already
give him a
did that,
blacklist from the media, which frankly is all the more reason that I think he needs to get back on Twitter. It's the one thing, one of the few things he has going for him in terms of media distribution is he has his powerful Twitter account
just the policy points. I think I only got through 6. I mean, that thing, and I can tell the team over there, I think we got to highlight those. There's 10 major policy announcements in that speech that nobody else could do. Remember, it's not just
Who cares about his polony?
Trump. It's
He's not going to get any of it done.
It's
He's going to
populist
get the same
nationalists. They
fucking
want that to
swamp
stop.
losers.
These are neoliberal neocons.
Same
That
fucking
is-
advisors
They
he's
are
got
the,
now.
they are the Washington
Or some
generals
swamp
to the
light.
Democrats' Harlem Globetrotters in this. This is why
This
it's
guy's
taken us 40
chumming it up
years to
with
get
Mitch
here, because it's
McConnell.
always about unity and compromise.
Guys-
And you can see that's
Yes.
where Biden would have no
He's on the right
accomplishments if it was not for the collaboration in the Senate. And now you get Mitch McConnell saying his
And
number one
keep
priority is
fucking
Ukraine
chumming for losers.
and making sure that
Yeah.
Biden gets all these spending deals done. And you're going to see this on the debt ceiling.
Damn right. Biden
Everything
gets
that the
banged,
populist
but that boy
nationalist
is a
movement
real
is
gangster. He actually
adamantly
gets shit done.
opposed to. Therefore, and remember,
Biden's a
conservative
real
bank, you see him
gangster.
rolling
Trump's
in
a
now
little
and DeSantis
fucking
and rubbing up
LARPer
on him.
gangster.
And look,
That's the whole
Mark
right.
Halperin's
Uncle
got a
LARPer.
piece up on Newsmax.
Even though I hate that.
And we're going to hopefully maybe get Mark on here in the next couple of days. He's still a very brilliant political analyst. He deconstructs the Reagan Library speech, and I'll be brutally frank, it was a nothing burger. When Governor DeSantis is out there, and you've got the Chinese dropping the sound of war toxins, you're in 1939, heading towards the.
Yeah, and then we got DeSantis. DeSantis is out here passing hate speech legislation that's makes it a crime to it makes it a felony 5-year crime to litter. Here, listen. Oh, Ronnie.
And again, I would remind you that there's no First Amendment right to conduct. There's a First Amendment right to speech, and the things that we're targeting
That is real
in the
facts,
bill
really.
are not speech. Again, if someone wants to stand
Really
across
get
the street from my
what they
house and
want.
wave a sign on the sidewalk, they have every right to do that, and this bill won't have anything to do with that. But when it veers into conduct, and so the way we're going to approach this
Veers
is
into
through a hate
conduct.
crime kicker. So
Hate crime
if you
kicker.
if you graffiti a building, it is a crime now. But if your
It's a
motivation
misdemeanor
is
now.
hate, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in prison.
5 years in
If you
prison
want to
for
litter, it's a crime
spray
right
painting
now.
a building.
But if you litter and if your motivation is a hate crime, it
Litter.
will be a third-degree felony. Years in prison.
Listen to that. If
But
you
your motivation
litter,
is hate, it will build it.
this guy says if you litter and they determine that your trash was hateful, if that trash is hateful, brother, your ass is going to jail for 5 years. That's what freedom looks like in fucking Florida under Ronnie Freedom DeSantis. That and, criminalize cannabis and, talk about how plants are terrible, but you're Mr. Freedom, and, talk about how trash is hateful, but you're Mr. Freedom. I'm tired of these right guys, man. I thought I'd never vote blue again, but now seeing like once these guys have an audience, it's like a bunch of little a bunch of the same little fucking loser worms who just, clam up and then do exactly what they're supposed to as part of the uni party. They hate you. The goal is to enslave you, not to make you, not to, guard against, incursions on your freedoms, your natural rights given to you by God. No. Old Ronnie Freedom DeSantis is going to make sure your litter, that little Swiss roll that you threw the packaging out on, that's a hate crime. You hate Jews. Guess what? You hate Jews. You threw that Swiss roll on the ground, that means you want Chambers. I didn't start the hate. You guys did. Shouldn't have done it. 5 years in prison. That Swiss roll you fucking threw on the ground. You hateful piece of shit.
Is a crime now. But if your motivation is hate, it will be a third-degree felony. You'll kicker. So if you graffiti a building, it is a crime now. But if your motivation is hate, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in prison. If you want to litter, it's a crime right now. But if you litter and if your motivation is a hate crime, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in jail. It is a crime right
If
now.
you litter and your motivation is a hate crime. Imagine saying that with a straight face, like this fucking fat piece of shit. I'll tell you what is a hate crime. Your fucking fat ass, dude. Your fat ass is a hate crime. And here's what I think should be put into legislation in Florida. Fat fucks like this fucking sheriff fat sack of shit is a hateful, Jew-hating bastard because he eats so much Wendy's and so many Big Macs, like a fat sack of hateful piece of shit. Okay? So this guy, we need to pass legislation to make sure that anybody with a double chin like this fat loser goes to jail for 5 years at least under hate crime legislation for being so fat, because that is hateful. And it honestly, it is hateful to the starving Jews of, the concentration camps, that this gluttonous piece of shit is going to be this fucking fat. To have this much of a double chin and to be talking about any sort of hate crime, this guy looks like he's eaten a couple of people from Auschwitz. And he wants to talk about hate crimes? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Litter. If you litter and they determine that litter's hateful, then they're putting your ass in jail for 5 years. Today, I want legislation for this guy. If your BMI is over whatever his is, hate crime, felony, third-degree felony, jail for 5 years. I want to see it. I want to see it tomorrow. So anyways, I thought I was a DeSantis fan, and then he started passing stuff like that. And, obviously I'm not going to fucking ride with a bunch of fat losers
for
like
obvious
this.
reasons, we don't want to distract drivers. But if
Banners.
you do that and you have a hate crime,
If you put a banner
it will
up,
be a third-degree felony, you will spend 5 years in jail.
instead of it being a misdemeanor, 5 years in prison.
I guarantee the bill will pass.
I guarantee the bill will pass. This fucking piece of shit. This guy is an absolute piece of shit. Look at that chin. That's a whole. Honestly, that's 3 years worth of food in Dachau. Under this chin right here. The amount of fat that could hold over, hundreds of children. And this guy wants to talk about hate crimes. The only hate crimes that are happening is him having his third lunch at, Mickey D's again after he's eaten Popeyes and Churches for first and second lunch. And then he wants to pass some garbage. It's fats like this that are the reason our society and our nation is failing. Is in an entropic state. I won't say failing. I'll say it's an entropic state. It's not doing well because we have, I wouldn't say it's a white supremacy problem, but it is fucking bunch of fat losers like this. I'll tell you, we got other problems, which I've talked about, with, crime and robbery, which isn't, fat losers like this, but just as much of a problem is fat, do nothing but make you submit to tyrannical and arbitrary laws like this. That is just as much of a problem with the country as anything else. This throwing pennies at a synagogue, now 5 years in jail, under this fucking piece of dirt. That's what the face of evil looks like. Right here. This fucking quadruple chin. Pure evil. Mike Chitwood. I want hate legislation passed now to make sure that anybody with a triple chin like this, who even attempts to charge anybody with a hate crime, must first be tried for their own gluttonous fatness. For crimes against humanity, number one, I think that should carry a life sentence. And then also number two, a third-degree felony for hate crime, against Jews, against, all protected classes because of, his hoarding of meals and food and lack of action. But yet he seems to be happy telling you what to do. So anyways, that's what's going on in Freedom Land, Florida. Tucker's possibly gonna. I don't. Darren Beattie is suspect at this point with his Trump bullshit. Rocking with Trump after all what's going on, cannot. But Alex. I still trust. He's still not trust, but he's still as reliable as anybody. And he seems to think that if they don't let Tucker run this whatever he's got in the hopper, then he's going to quit Fox. And so that would be huge. I don't know if he'll ever be able to run that, which would suck, but it'd be nice to see. Fox should go under. If they don't let Tucker run his report, there's nothing to save with Fox. They have one guy, and that's Tucker. Everyone else is a joke, and not even worth even a first thought, let alone a second thought. So we also have Hoeflation. If you're not, this term Hoeflation is something that is kind of an online, especially on Twitter, term used to gauge the social fabric of the nation. And as Hoeflation rises, the social fabric is either falling or has been torn or broken in some manner. And so when you see signs of Hoeflation, that means, well, not great signs, because more, nice daughters, I guess, are now, Insta sluts and OnlyFans mommies who, make good dollars and get railed by, I don't know who goes in their DMs, athletes and movie stars, I guess. So they get banged out, they get run through, and then, I guess make money through some of these different online platforms. But this Speed Read Dan had a good Twitter thread on hyperhoflation in Utah. Hyperhoflation in Utah. The last Hyperhoflation in Utah. The last outpost of chaste Western civilization. What this means for the rest of us. Social media fueled cunning cuckoldry, prurient psyops, and fertility failures. Sanctified saints or salacious sluts. A story of Molly Mormons falling from grace. This guy's trying to alliterate me to hell. Utah has experienced the sexual revolution 50 years after the rest of the West. This carnal cataclysm is lubricating in slippery age of tantalizing TikTokers, Snapchat snakes, and Insta thoughts. Silicon Valley poisoned purity with a powerful, puissance. Oh, I'm retarded. I can't read. How did this travesty begin? The ingredients are as follows: genetically blessed babes, cucked companions, an audacious appetite for fame. Malapropo's missionaries, three-letter agencies, Silicon slopes, and finally the veneration of vicious vipers, all settled into a toxic jello mold. I'm telling you, this guy's trying to get you stuttering with all these goddamn alliterations out here. Let's start with the babes. It's undisputed that Mormon girls are hot. Those really happy white-looking people that may have annoyed you at some point, you have a better-looking physiognomy than any other notably attractive ethnic groups. What mean? Essentially, it's combination of the best Anglo and Danish features in survival of the fittest. The healthiest people made it across the plains, and the rest died. Multi-generational teetotalers with big boobs, blonde hair, blue eyes, tan skin, and neo-tenuous traits made it through. Now for generations, these women were sheltered in place. Now for generations, these women were sheltered in place in the Great Basin, hidden by the mighty Rockies and high Sierras. For over a century, a practicing Mormon man could have his pious pick. However, over time, he became a sideline simp to the woman's designs. Simply said, a basic bloke could marry a heavenly hottie. He worshipped the ground she walked on. He worshipped the ground she walked on, catered to her every last whim. He's making some. She walked on a catered to her every last whim. Women were immaculate Madonnas that had oversized soft power in the longhouse. He got his 15 seconds, and then she got everything. Cultures that pedestalize women, with white knights perpetually proclaiming their virtue, are in the proto-wake stage. These cultures view women as being beyond reproach. Infantilization ensues, and grim realities are ignored as the man becomes soft and the hottie goes haughty. Noche. Eventually, Disneyfication ruled the day. Crushed by being outcast, these cute colonizers witlessly wished for fame and fortune. The key was to be in the world, but not of the world. But eventually the lure of Babylon would pull too strong, and they'd be off the world. I think that's supposed to be of the world. And they'd be of the world. What's this swig? And so delicious? And where are all the Starbucks? Why does everyone have a Stepford Wives or vaguely 1950 vibes? What's going on? Peak Americanization led to a hiring hump in these three-letter agencies. For context, the American government tried to outlaw and ban Mormonism. For over a century, the LDS Latter-day Saints, tried desperately to regain favor from the feds. Persecution preceded preeminence as long as boring Brads got hired into the banal beltway of Washington. This guy's a damn poet. The perfect setup. The psyop was to get the LDS moms, the Latter-day Saints moms addicted to social media, first as mommy bloggers, and now as TikTok thoughts. These are the daughters of the 2000s mommy bloggers. Niceness was extolled. Milk before meat became watered-down oat milk. Wards became rife with jealousy as Ashleigh had 4,000 IG followers while Kirby had only 340. And even Candace, with her 37,000 followers, could only imagine touching toes with the bucket list family. The race to stardom began naively and has ended horrifically. Billions started rolling in from the Bay Area, and Utah was no longer a banished place of exile. This is the place now applied to tech, and with it, blue state values. The cucked became woke, and the liberals became status. Apostasy spread left and right. Voila, hyper-Hoeflation. In 2015, you could still be an average Joe and score a hot wife. By 2018, you needed the 666 in Happy Valley. Over 6 figures, over 6 feet tall, 6-pack abs. Preferably VVV, Vivant Vasa in the village, Chillage. The beginning of the end was nigh. Oh. Now there's thousands of Zoomers that have never had a girlfriend because everywhere they look, they only see smuts, sluts, and skanks. They're black pill. The seniors have no idea what they're going through. Just ask for some girl's number and get a milkshake, they say. True. All these girls are fucking skanks. These women aren't innocent. These frolicking broads are on track to be Chelsea Handler, not Majorie Hinckley. I don't know who that is, but she's a good girl. This is set in stone by 2020. Tantalized by Tinder, they seek to reject all the values they grew up with. They raise their middle finger against the family. Well, that world is over. Now with women constantly on their phones, you need game on Insta, Snapchat, and even now with TikTok. 10% of 10%, the crony chads end up with 90% of the women. Yeah. The inequality index is now worse than other states. Trust me, it's bad. Essentially, you have polygamy back in Utah, but its purpose is in direct opposition to raising up a righteous seed. A few of the guys get all of the girls. Most men get nothing. This is a perfect recipe for revolution. Hyperinflation leads to radical regimes. Hoeflation. Oh. Hyperinflation leads to radical regimes. So does hyperhoflation. There's one way to fix this, and that is to be hardcore. Ban Tinder. Ban teenagers from using smartphones and social media. Supercharge shaming. Shame, shame, shame. Grandmother be shamed for it? If yes, then shame away. Unfortunately, it's easier said than done. We can't be nice. We have no option to be nice. If we're nice, you'll literally have no posterity at this point. You literally have no posterity at this point. If you aren't strict about these standards, then you'll be weeded out and will suffer calamities foretold. If there is no backlash, then we're dead. There's not going to be backlash. That's why everyone's dead. Sorry for the black pill, guys, but no guys are going to get together. Everyone's just atomized and isolated. There's no meeting spot for people to even talk about a revolution, let alone for that to happen. So, no, these guys are just going to die in silence or kill delete themselves. The hypersexualization of, unfortunately, I wish it weren't that way. That's why I'm doing this fucking thing. But it is. Look at all these are sluts. I'll tell you what. Something else, huh? The hypersexualization of the late 20th century directly led to the wokeness of the early 21st century. Wokeness is literally a death sentence as fertility rates plummet, possessions and plenty fare far worse than persecution. Pride cometh before the fall. Prosperity is a worse drug than poverty. For those who are used to being penniless, prosperity is a worse drug than poverty for those who are used to being penniless. The humble remain religious, the affluent reject their rights in favor of the avaricious and the urbane. Spiritual cocaine has been offered, and the saints are slipping into slavery. The superficial and the selfish is now seen as covetously cool. What have prophets, ancient and modern, prophesied of this day? They've seen this travesty transform into a desolating sickness known as the abomination of desolation. Let's read Isaiah 3, chapter 3. I will give children to be their princes, and babies shall rule over them. I will give children to be their princes, and babes shall rule over them, and the people shall be oppressed, everyone by another, and everyone by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable. The shew of their countenance doth witness against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom. They hide it not. Woe unto their soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. Sounds about right. The daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes. Shit, that's hitting, actually. Walking and menacing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet. The Lord will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion. The Lord will discover their secret parts. In that day the Lord will take away the tablets, and the earrings, the rings, and the nose jewels. It will all come to pass that instead of sweet smell there shall be stink. Thy amen shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty in the war. And she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. After a while the Gentiles will gather by the thousands to this place, and Salt Lake City will be classed among the wicked cities of the world. A spirit of speculation and extravagance will take possession of the saints, and the results will be financial bondage. Before that day comes, however, the saints will be put to the test. Will be put to a test that will try the integrity of the best of them. The pressure will become so great that the more righteous among them will cry unto the Lord, and then blah blah. We warn that individuals who violate the covenants of chastity, who abuse spouse or offspring, or who fail to fulfill family responsibilities will one day stand accountable before God. Further, we warn that the disintegration of the family will bring upon individuals, communities, and nations the calamities foretold by ancient and modern prophets. Pornography, OnlyFans, Bumble, Grindr, abortion, drag screen, story hour, pronouns, parades, mutilation, death by... You gotta do that right here, dude? Here and talk. Appreciate that. Mutilation, death by diversity, equity, inclusion. Childhoods robbed of innocence. Lineages destroyed. Babylon surrounds us. So where do we go? Assuredly, it will fall. It is you who must remain standing. Mark my words, they will self-destruct. All you have to do is survive. The only way to survive is through your ability to maintain your family intact. This is the greatest test and trial being given to anyone in the dawn of history to know at the end of days. In conclusion, we're going through spiritual warfare. Pray for a miracle and find a good woman if you can. This is it. There's nothing more you can do. There's nothing more you can do is to be sovereign individual and live by God's commands. You know the way and must obey. Man, that's heavy. It's over. So, that's Hoeflation for you. It's hitting hard. And feel bad for these Zoomers, man, because they're dealing with the biggest bunch of sluts. And it was bad in my day, which was not that long, which was like, I mean, I'm not that old. But I fortunately saw how this was shaping out and said, I need to find somebody who I can trust and isn't one of these fucking sluts. Got out of that business. But can't imagine getting out into the dating world right now with it being what it is and women being what they are. I know one of the nicest cars in my gyms is actually driven by this. She's like a tall Eastern European looking lady. Ugly as shit in the face. Crazy body though, so I'm guessing that she makes insane OnlyFans money and just like doesn't post her face, or I don't know, maybe she puts on, she's one of those ladies that puts on all that makeup and gets it done, but it's we are in Babylon right now. The message is saying, I guess your baby's just ugly. Proving my point. Most new residential probably have dog shitting zones instead of playgrounds or kids. I've never seen dog shitting zones. I like Coastal Country Club. It's my guy, but I don't see these things. I see playgrounds, guys. But it is. I mean, most people can't afford families. It's a rich people thing. That's what I argue. Pros are broke. Nobody wanted to see that though. But yeah, so Ronnie boy DeSantis, fuck all these guys, man. Obviously allowing this boss dog who did a burnout on the colonizing flag um, to be now, hunted down, which is classic right. Just a bunch of cowards, bunch of losers and cowards who just let their people get run through and persecuted and hunted down arbitrarily with no recourse, and then say, "All right, we agree with you. Let's pass a hate speech legislation that makes littering, hate speech, and put people in jail for 5 years. All these guys are fucking losers, punks. Don't ever vote with these right fucking losers either. I'm voting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Fuck it. Hope he's running. He's the only one left who I can even vote for. I'm not voting for any of these righty losers. Rocked out with them in 2016. Rocked with them in 2020. Big regret there. He's a fucking bunch of deserters, cowards, pussies, losers. Not rocking with him again. So, I'm team. I'm team Ragnar Daniskjold. I'm not team anything. Anyways, I've had enough. Can't do any of these fucking these subverters of all that is good in the world. Can't do them. We'll be back later. I gotta cool off.